Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Owner's Box After Dark. I'm your host, Mark Farinella, the former assistant sports editor, Patriots beat writer, sports columnist, and you name it, I did it. All-around good guy for the Sun Chronicle of Attleboro, Massachusetts, from which I retired almost 2 years to this very month, if you consider that we were almost in August, and we will be shortly. It's still July 31st, 2020, as I record this here at the palatial confines of Fulton Pond Studios in Mansfield, Massachusetts. But we will be switching over to another day before this makes it onto the internet. So, yes, it was August of 2018 when my career came to a screeching halt. And I was going to retire anyway, but, that's what happens when you get laid off. Anyway, the book I was reading beforehand is called Yogi Was Up with a Guy on Third. It's by my friend Maureen Mullen, who has covered the Red Sox for some time. And, actually, I'd like to get her back onto the podcast now that the Red Sox season is underway somewhat. We'll see how long that lasts, given the number of COVID cases that are popping up all over Major League Baseball right now. But part of what we'll talk about a little bit tonight is what I have for plans for this video podcast, which, as you may be aware, is relatively new. This is the 9th episode, I believe. And obviously, I won't be doing them as often here because this is the home base. I was in North Falmouth on vacation when I started doing these things. But I'd like to kind of keep up with doing this. I did invest in software, so you probably noticed the fancy new entry, the beginning of the podcast. My production company has its new logo at the top, and of course, a beautiful card as you come in to see what the podcast is, the title card. Hopefully it all worked as I'm recording this. I don't know if it worked or not, but we shall find out soon enough. I will be talking on my little cards again tonight because I didn't have time to write any cue cards or any script on the screen. But yeah, what I'd like to talk about a little bit is some of the plans I have for this. But I was thinking, I love having the jazz riff at the beginning of the podcast. It's what they call unlicensed music. It's something that you don't have to pay money for. You don't have to pay royalty fees to anybody for it. There are all sorts of sites on the internet. Universal Studios has one where plenty of music that can fit just about any possible situation, and I love using it in my podcast on occasion, and the commercials that I make and things like that. What I really wish I could have gotten, though, and I can't, would have been the theme to a show I used to watch as a kid, and you're going to laugh. It was called Playboy After Dark, and the host was Hugh Hefner, the publisher of Playboy magazine. Now, granted, I was probably about 6 or 7 years old when I was watching this, and I kind of did not have any idea what Playboy magazine was. I just thought it was cool how he held this pipe and he was wearing a tuxedo. This was before he wore pajamas all the time to anything he went to. But Playboy After Dark was a show that would show up on the weekends on one of the Boston stations. It was filmed in the Playboy building in Chicago, and it was really kind of avant-garde for its time. It had all the comics that Hefner liked, guys like Lenny Bruce, who got in trouble with the law a lot, but that's what Hefner liked. He liked the freedom of speech battles that would legitimize his magazine, just so that you weren't looking at the pretty pictures inside otherwise. And, it was kind of like a party atmosphere. So, and in fact, I did steal After Dark from Playboy After Dark. So I probably should get myself a pipe, and I could sit down here with the pipe and when I start this. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anybody left alive in the Playboy organization that can sue me? I don't know. So anyway, one of the reason why I could watch that, though, because I was like 6 years old. This was like 1960, maybe 59, 60. I didn't sleep well ever in my lifetime. I think it's because of the allergies. So I'd go to bed early, like any dutiful child should, and then I'd kind of wake up at some point, and I'd wander out of my room and find that my parents were both asleep in front of the television. We had this room in back. We didn't use the living room as the television room in those days. I actually do now. When I've moved back into this house, and I have the big television in the living room where it should be. But we had this old 20-inch General Electric black and white TV. It was huge. And of course, I used to sit right up in front of it, which is before I wore glasses. So that's probably why I have to wear glasses, because I was way, way too close to it. But I would walk into the TV room, is what we called it. It was a back bedroom. And my father would be out on the recliner, and my mother would be out on the couch, and they'd be out like a light. So I would sit there and watch television. What the hell? The television was going. They didn't know I was there, so I watched a lot of television. I used to watch The Tonight Show, and that was in the days when Jack Parr was the host. Now, I don't have time to go into all of what Jack Parr represented for the time, but he was a pretty controversial at times talk show host, very entertaining at times, very strange personality. But look it up on Google, and you'll learn a little bit more about it. And then Johnny Carson replaced him, so I remember watching the couple of weeks in between when Parr left the show and before they finally actually hired Johnny Carson. And then I remember watching the first couple of shows that Johnny Carson did. And I said, this guy's terrible. He used to do a game show in the afternoon. Yes, indeed, he and Ed McMahon used to host a game show called Who Do You Trust? It was on ABC, actually, and I remember watching it as a kid, of course. And So I would stay there and watch TV all night, and my parents wouldn't wake up, so then I'd go back to bed when I was tired, and they never knew. Well, they do eventually, but so I think that's also why I lost any semblance of a New England accent, because I was watching the television all the time. I was always parked in front of the TV. News, sports, entertainment programming. I just learned how to speak from the television. So that's why I don't speak with flat eyes. That's why I don't pack my car in the Harvard Yard and stuff like that. Oh, and I hate those commercials with that, the Sam Adams commercials with that, your cousin from Boston. Oh, God, awful. How about stereotypes? Haven't we learned anything about stereotypes yet? Okay, so that being all said, I want to make the Owner's Box After Dark a kind of a special part of this growing empire of multimedia things that I'm doing in my retirement. Keeps me busy. Keeps me from soiling myself or something like that. I'd like to get some guests on, and I think I know how I can do it. I can record Skype. I can record all sorts of things, so I can actually have the video there as long as they agree to it, of course. Of course, that might not work whenever I can actually open the studio up again to guests. I mean, some of my earliest podcasts, on the audio podcast, The Owner's Box, I had people come in here. My friend Maureen Mullen was one of them. Lisa Downs, the Foxborough girls basketball coach, who is one of the most popular guests I've had so far. Kristen McDonald, the Norwood High boys coach and the very successful coach formerly of the Braintree High girls team. 4 state championships. Can't beat that. So, but I'll find a way to get that working. Otherwise, these are just going to be 20, 25-minute rambles and rants, and I'm already killed 9 minutes of it, so I should continue on. And so we'll see what happens, but I hope you like the new look. If you do, at the end of the podcast, I always tell you where to send information. Now I don't have to hold up a card anymore. You'll see it run right across the screen. I think it's going to be really cool if it works. Okay, today, which was, of course, the 31st, the last day of July. Can you believe it? 21 weeks into the pandemic. I was at Gillette Stadium today, not covering the New England Patriots as I would have in past years, but I was there for my physical therapy session for my knee, and oh my God, I'm having trouble with it. There's no getting around it. I mean, I have another appointment with the surgeon next week sometime, and so hopefully we'll see what happened. But I mowed the lawn the other day when I got home from vacation. I really had to mow the lawn, and it was pretty thick. And while I can walk pretty well straight ahead, back and forth, there are just a couple of things that just too much activity is not good for it. And I've been paying for it ever since. So here we are on Friday. and coming up on Saturday. And I actually had to bail out of one physical therapy session on Wednesday, and I went today, and as soon as he got that ball thing out that I had to put both legs up onto it, and I pulled my legs back towards my torso, you could hear the left knee pop, 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 pop. It was not pleasant. So we'll see what goes with that, but it was not fun. Anyway, though, while I was there, I figured that this might be a good day to just stop off and, get sort of like a late lunch at one of my favorite restaurants, which is right there at Patriot Place. For those of you who have never been to Gillette Stadium, do me a favor, go to Google Earth, take a look down at it. You'll see it. I don't want to explain everything. But there's a shopping mall connected to the stadium nowadays. It's off to the side, and it's got hotels and restaurants and bars and bars and bars and more bars. And so I thought I'd stop at a restaurant that I enjoy. It's called Tavolino, and it's owned by the same people who own one of the restaurants down in Mashpee that I could not go to during the vacation because I got there a little bit late. And so I thought I'd stop in, but I said, nah, I really don't feel like getting out again. My knee is killing me. I'll just go home and make a couple hot dogs, which I did. And it's a good thing, too, because as it turns out, I saw on the news tonight that Tavolino and another restaurant owned by the same people at Patriot Place have had to close because employees tested positive for COVID-19. Yipe. I'm still thinking that I'm okay. I haven't had any symptoms. I sniffle a lot because I have my seasonal allergies, and they've been pretty bad, especially since the grass got dry and there's grass in the air all the time and stuff like that. So, but I'd like to get tested just for peace of mind's sake. But there's the closest place I know I can do it is someplace in Rentham, and I guess the lines are ridiculous there, and you don't get the results for 9 days. So you could actually die in the 9 days before you know if you actually had it or not. But I don't know. Until I feel like I'll keep on top of it. I don't feel like there's any reason for me to be wanting this, but given that we're 21 weeks into this thing and the people that you wish would get it aren't getting it, but people who don't deserve to get it are suffering terribly, and their families are suffering, I guess I'd just like to have some peace of mind if it's possible. So, but it's too bad because I would have liked to have a little veal saltimbocca or something. I think that would have been nice. At the same time I was there, Patriots head coach Bill Belichick was having the first video news conference of training camp. Now, understand, training camp is open, but it's not really open yet because players are here, but they have to go through 3 rounds of COVID-19 testing. They have to be tested 3 times, and they need 3 negative tests to be able to get into Gillette Stadium and into the facilities and onto the practice fields before they can even start any of this stuff. So far, according to reports, not a single Patriots player has tested positively for the coronavirus, which is good. And the last round of tests were today. Now, again, this is one of those things, though. You really have to sit back and think about this. I mean, here you are, you have a bunch of football players that can go in there and get tested 3 times, bing, bang, and boom, and get their results almost immediately. And yet, regular schmoes like me, you, and most of the people who be watching this, even those of you in Ukraine, hi, folks, I don't think, it's fair for us to not be able to get tested and get our results. But if you listen to the president, there's tests for everybody. There's tests for everybody. Oh, I hate him. I don't even want to honor him with a good impersonation. So, but that's just part of the what really pisses me off about this whole thing is that we're being lied to every day by the government, except for a guy like Dr. Anthony Fauci. And he is doing his damnedest. And I wish I had seen it today. I didn't get a chance to see it, but I guess he and Ohio Representative Jim Jordan, who is about as big an asshole as there is in the House of Representatives, got into a pretty good one today during hearings, and I guess Dr. Fauci tore him a new one, which is good, because if there's nobody in the entire House of Representatives that probably deserves it more than Jim Jordan. And there are stories out there, and I won't repeat them now because I don't want to get sued, but you just go on any part of Twitter or something like that, you'll see the stories. When they spell his name G-Y-M, Jordan, you'll know what it has to do with the problems at Ohio State that he was involved in, or not involved in, or claims he wasn't involved, whatever it was. But can't stand that guy. But it's kind of unfortunate that we can't get tested, I mean, I really wish we could. Now, I wasn't in on the Patriots call today because I'm not really writing for anybody. I talked to the folks at the AP, and I was right. They don't have any shortages of people right now, and they actually have been told by corporate that it's not time to hire stringers in anything. But if they do have any, I will get some work later, probably later in the year, hopefully after whatever resolution there is to my knee. But I got a transcript from Belichick today, and, it was the usual stuff that you would expect at the beginning of the year. Bill seemed a little talkative at times, but he didn't, he's not telling anybody anything. In fact, there was a question about the quarterbacking situation. As you know, Tom Brady is now a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and so the Patriots quarterbacking situation, the three guys at the top of the roster, although they've re-signed one guy that they cut, of course, are Cam Newton, Jared Stidham, and Brian Hoyer. And Stidham was being seen as the heir apparent until the signing of Cam Newton. So, of course, Belichick was asked about it, and I guess he went through a really long dissertation about it, and it was pointed out on Facebook by another one of my friends and former guests here, Lisa Edwards, the producer, one of the field producers for the NFL Network, who has been a guest on this on my audio podcast twice. And what she was saying, she thought it was incredible that he could talk for so long and not mention Cam Newton's name once. So that is typical Bill. And so, as you can see, nothing much has changed in Foxborough. No matter who comes, who goes, some things always stay the same. I also stopped by the new Starbucks that has opened up in Patriot Place. After all these years of not having a Starbucks anywhere around here, and then they build two in Foxborough, and we still don't have one in the neighboring community, which I really wish they would do. But it's nice. If I were still working at the stadium every day, I'd be there every day. But the fact is, at least it's still nice to have another one that I can go to that isn't 10 miles away. And but they're still new at it, and they're having a lot of trouble getting the orders right. I know the last time I went, they really messed up an order badly. And then today, they messed up my order. Now, my summertime order is usually a venti iced black tea, no cane syrup, 3 Splenda, and a splash of lemonade. Low calorie, delicious, keeps me going, and gets the bladder working. Can't go wrong. And I don't gain any weight when I drink that stuff either, which is good. But today, they gave me the Trenti sized, which is something like 30 some odd ounces, almost as big as this Wendy's Diet Dr. Pepper I got. And isn't it funny, though, that you never complain about when they get the order wrong and it's in your favor? We never complain about it. Why would we? I felt guilty, though, so I did still give her a $1 tip. So, another issue locally is whether or not we're going to have high school sports this fall in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And it's getting scarier every time, you look up and there are more Major League Baseball teams that are canceling games because of coronavirus outbreaks. And I got to believe that's going to be putting that whole season in jeopardy. If it happens, I mean, it's the St. Louis Cardinals were today's revelation, and I got to believe that's right about at that level where, oh God, if we lose another good team, another famous team, another iconic team, if it ever happens to the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Dodgers, that's going to be it. Baseball's going to be over for this year. I can guarantee you that. But in the meantime, they keep plugging on, and certainly the Cardinals, had a few tests today, and then there's more for the Miami Marlins, And I guess the Phillies are having issues, and then the Brewers are worried now because they were supposed to play the Cardinals. So anyway, but here in Massachusetts, a lot of the question as to whether or not we're going to have fall sports, and mostly football. I mean, that's where most of the concern is among the football coaches. It's all up to Governor Charlie Baker, and it hasn't been settled yet, although here, as we are about to enter August, it's the understanding that I have that there will be some sort of announcement sometime before, at least early next week. The question I have is, if they're going to be fair about it, and realize that they can't penalize one sport too much, but by the same token, they can't penalize other sports to prop up one sport either. And that's the whole issue that has got to be handled with the wisdom of King Solomon. But the biggest problem I think I see right now is there's pressure from without to do something. And I have a feeling that Charlie Baker will want to err on the side of caution. That's been his modus operandi so far. But in recent days, Connecticut and New Hampshire have given the go-ahead for all the fall sports, including football, to begin with a much later start to their seasons, mostly mid-September, which is the same idea that is the case here in Massachusetts, although it just hasn't been determined yet if that's going to apply to all sports. Rhode Island and Maine haven't let anybody know what they're doing yet because I think they're waiting on Massachusetts. And in Vermont, who cares? It's too far away anyway. But I think that the question is going to be, Charlie Baker's established all along that he had tiers of sports, and there were like low impact, low contact sports, medium contact, and then high contact, high risk sports, and football and competition cheerleading, if you can believe it, are the two sports in that category. Competition cheerleading. That's, I guess, because they touch each other a lot. But don't read anything into that, please. I don't need letters. So, if they can finally say it's okay that the risks are low, our COVID-19 curve is still fairly low, although I'm a little scared about these tests of positive here in Foxborough. I mean, I'm holding my breath every time I go out and wearing a mask, of course. Of course, I am wearing a mask. We'll find out soon enough. And, of course, at that time, I will probably find out, too, if I'm going to have a chance to resume my second career as a football broadcaster, because, obviously, I'm going to have to wait for the word from my friends at North TV as to whether I'm going to be doing the King Philip games and if they're going to allow us in the press boxes. Do you know that in Mississippi, I guess it is, they are only going to allow two people into press boxes at high school stadiums, the man running the scoreboard and the public address announcer. No reporters, I'm assuming no principals, no buddies of the principals, no camera people. That's going to be that. I could work at King Philip under those conditions if they don't let the band there at the same time, because then we could be in front of the press box and be outside. I'll be okay with it. We can string extension cords. But again, these are questions that are going to be asked. They haven't been answered yet. I should talk to Gary Brown, the athletic director over at King Philip, at some point and see how he feels about all that. Hello, that's my cell phone, in case you were wondering. That's not somebody at the door. So, tonight, the Red Sox lost to the Yankees after beating the Mets 2 in a row to raise our hopes unrealistically. And the Celtics lost a close one to the Bucks, so we're sort of back to normal around here, I guess. So, that's going to be about it for tonight's episode of The Owner's Box After Dark. Wish I had the pipe. I need that pipe. Used to be I would hold up a card right now to tell you how to get in touch with me, but it's just going to let it scroll across the screen. Bleh. First of all, the website is www.theownersbox2020.com. That's where you can find all of my links to my audio podcasts and links to these video ones and all sorts of other interesting stuff. And I'm writing more on it again now that I'm back home. So also changed the restaurant review for the first time in weeks. So be sure to check that out. If you would like to send me some thoughts about what you're seeing, and you never know, you might get a free coffee mug out of the deal, you can send me email at, it's going to scroll across in a second, theownersbox2020 at gmail.com. Now, as you can see, that's how you should copy it down and send it the email that way. No spaces. Don't add anything to it. It's exactly as you see it there is how, right across there, is how it's going to be. Okay? And if you want to send me snail mail, I don't know why, but I'd love to get something in my new mailbox at the local post office. It is the owner's box at Post Office Box 272, Mansfield, Massachusetts, 02048. Okay? So, until the next time I see you in this format, I want to wish you all the best. I want to wish you good health. Remember, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer if you can find it. I actually found a bottle of Purell at the local Stop and Shop the other day. Now, let me tell you, I snapped that up immediately. I'm not going for any of these knockoff brands or things you never heard of before. They just might eat my flesh away or something like that. So wear masks, of course. If I had one nearby, I would put it on to show you, but I wear mine religiously when I'm outside of the house, even in the car when I'm driving. I don't know why. I look like an idiot probably, but I do wear it. So please stay healthy, stay well, and tune in again for our next one. And let me know if you like the new format, okay? Good night, everybody.